Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zeng here, and today I am bringing you the 6th episode in our Road to Rank series, where I climb the online VGC 15 ladder and try out basically everything. As always, if you want to see another episode tomorrow, leave a like on the video to show your support for the series, and let's aim for another 500 likes on this video. Yesterday I tried out Mega Audino, which was a pretty interesting and fun mega to play with, but I'm going to be moving on to more serious megas now. The first one that you guys highly requested was Mega Salamence, which I'm actually very interested in testing as well. I think it has a lot of potential as one of the new VGC ORAS megas. I think it can really be powerful. So I'm going to be trying out Mega Salamence for the next couple of days, but I'm also going to be trying out all kinds of different movesets. Today is going to focus on a special set of Draco Meteor, Fire Blast, Hyper Voice, and Protect, and I'll be moving on to mixed sets, including Double Edge and Return, and maybe even a purely physical set. So that's my plan for the next couple of days for Road to Ranked, and I'm going to be switching around the support Pokemon I've got for Salamence as well, but today I've got Bisharp, Sylveon, Zapdos, Hariyama, Ludicolo, and Salamence. So a lot of familiar Pokemon, a lot that you guys have seen already, so should be interesting. Hopefully I can make Mega Salamence work, but I'm not sure if the special build is really the best. I'm going to find a 1503 rated player, Cannon, from Alberta, Canada, and he is going to have a team of Talonflame, Rotom Wash, Salamence, Metagross, Sableye, and Conkeldurr. So pretty interesting team. We've got a lot of staples of VGC, Talonflame, Rotom Wash, Salamence, all dominated VGC 14 obviously. Metagross, Conkeldurr, older faces from 2013. Sableye is one that's wasn't used that much, but is definitely got its kind of role. I feel pretty good leading with Zapdos and Sylveon. He's really weak to Fairy. I'm definitely going to have Salamence in the back. And for my last one, I'm thinking Ludicolo or Bisharp. Or Hariyama. I guess Hariyama works too. All of these can fare relatively well. I don't really want to go with Hari mainly because of the Talonflame and a potential Psychic type attack from the Metagross. So I think having Bisharp to counter the two potential Megas is a decent idea, though I'm not too sure about that. You know, I'm going to go with Ludicolo. It's got the Ice Beam for the Salamence, and it can Giga Drain the Rotom, can Scald Burn the Metagross. Yeah. So I'm going to be leading off with Sylveon and Zapdos with Salamence and Ludicolo in the back. That sounds pretty powerful to me. If I can spread some Thunder Waves off with Zapdos, that would be really good. Setting up Ludicolo and Salamence. Hariyama is an interesting Pokemon. I've used it basically for all of VGC 14 towards the end after Worlds, and I've used it all of VGC 15 so far. I do think it's actually a really powerful Pokemon. Not many people have used it before because they like to opt for, say, Hitmontop or Scrafty, both which get Intimidate, but Hariyama is able to get a bit more offensive pressure, and it has access to Knock Off, Ice Punch, and Close Combat, which is a pretty diverse moveset in terms of powers, so I think it's still a really powerful Pokemon even outside of Trick Room, just as a Fake Outer and as a kind of bulky but strong fighting type that you want to use. Zapdos, of course, was pretty common in VGC 2014, 2013, and all previous years actually. Thundurus kind of replaced it, as my opponent almost runs out of time there. Thundurus is a decent replacement to Zapdos, obviously, but Zapdos gets access to Roost, which is, I think, a really solid move. The ability to Thunder Wave and Roost continuously, slowing down your opponent's entire team, is pretty darn good. So, we'll see what my opponent leads with here. I'm going to go with the Zapdos Sylveon lead, as he goes for a Salamence and Sableye. That is really good to see, of course, because I've got the the Sylveon, which can just spam Hyper Voice. He's probably got Fake Out, but I'm not really too worried about that. I don't have HP Ice on this Zapdos, so you should note that, but I've got Thunder Wave, Heat Wave, Roost, and Thunderbolt. I'm going to go for a T-Wave onto the Salamence and a Hyper Voice. So if he goes for a Fake Out onto Sylveon, I'll be able to paralyze the Salamence, and if he goes for a Fake Out onto Zapdos, which would be kind of an odd play, then I can just knock him out. So he is going to Mega Evolve. Shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Let's see what he goes for and what set he's running. He's actually going to Protect with Salamence, a smart play on my opponent's end. As the Sableye goes for the Taunt. Nice play by my opponent there. That's going to prevent me from Thunder Waving, but at least I get the Hyper Voice off here, which should knock out the Sableye given that it's super effective, and I'm carrying Life Orb. And it picks up the knockout. So a clean KO there for me, as I'm going to take 10%, or excuse me, some Life Orb recoil, but I got rid of Sableye, which is a really annoying Pokemon to deal with. And sure, Zapdos is taunted, but I'll take that. And he's going to bring in Mega, or not Mega, just normal Metagross now. So this is a decent lead matchup for me right now. The real question is what he carries on that Salamence and what attack he's going to go for. I'm going to T-Bolt the Salamence and protect with Sylveon to scout out what Salamence is going to go for this turn. I don't want my Sylveon getting, say, double-edged for a KO. So, want to scout out whether it's the physical or special variant, and Zapdos can deal with Salamence's attacks relatively well. So, pretty cool to see a Mega Salamence mirror match here. But unfortunately, because I'm carrying Modest Nature on mine, that may give me some issue when we actually run into the mirror match. And I'm thinking maybe I should have swapped Zapdos out here to Ludicolo, just so Zapdos can come back in freely and Thunder Wave. But I guess we'll see whether that was a mistake or not. I don't expect Thunderbolt to do too much damage to the Salamence here. Unfortunately, like I said, I'm carrying Heat Wave over HP Ice. No, not for any specific reason, just trying things out and testing things. Heat Wave, of course, is the move tutor move you can get in ORAS. But I'm thinking HP Ice might be a better call for future matches. But I'm going to protect with Sylveon here as he goes for the Hyper Voice. Okay, so that's a special set, meaning my Sylveon should be able to take an attack from that the following turn, which is, of course, really good. Zapdos is going to get a Thunder Wave off against the Salamence. How much does it do? Wow, a fairly good amount, actually. He does go for the Zen Headbutt onto Zapdos and brings me down to 64 HP, which is good news because I think I can take another attack from the Salamence with my Zapdos. So here I'm going to Thunderbolt the Metagross and just Hyper Voice. So I should be able to pick up a KO on Salamence and do a lot of damage to Metagross. Though he might protect with Salamence, and if that is the case, I'm thinking maybe I should have protected with Sylveon. Actually, excuse me, I did that last turn. Maybe I should have double targeted Metagross with Thunderbolt and Shadow Ball instead. Oh, but he's just gonna go for the Bullet Punch. Interesting. Let's see how much damage that does. Ooh, a lot. Brings me down to 78 HP. Salamence gets another Hyper Voice off. Isn't enough to knock out my Pokemon. Oh, wow, look at that. Zapdos and Sylveon hang on. I'm gonna get a Thunderbolt and a Hyper Voice off. And that should knock out the Salamence, which is really good news for me. At least it does. So maybe this is an omen that I shouldn't be using special Mega Salamence. That was a really weak attack. And of course the spread damage decreases the attack by a good amount as well, so I'm thinking I'm going to try out physical / mixed ments in tomorrow's episode, but I'm going to bring in my own Mega Salamence now, as Zapdos' taunt wears off, which is good in terms, because now I can Roost, and Conkeldurr is a great Pokemon to see as my opponent's last one. Who's definitely really weak to Fairy / flying in general. Clear Body is going to prevent the Intimidate, but at least I get the Intimidate off against Conk. And now I can just Mega Evolve. I'm just gonna Heat Wave and Hyper Voice. Not really much you can do at this point. Even Bullet Punch and or Mach Punch shouldn't KO Zapdos. And if he double targets me, then I just KO Conkeldurr or do a lot of damage to it. But we're gonna see my own Mega Salamence come in here. The Frisbee looking ever so graceful. He is going to go for the Mach Punch onto Zapdos. Is that going to be enough? Nope. Leaves me with 9 HP as I get the Hyper Voice off against both of the Pokemon. Does it KO Conkeldurr? It does. So, super effective. Hyper Voice coming there. Of course, Aerial 8 turning it into Flying type as Zapdos goes for the Heat Wave. And that should knock out the Metagross and make it a clean 3-0 win. So, solid win on my end. Pretty good game. Interesting to see two Mega Salamences go up against each other, but you know, I say if you're building a VGC 15 team, you really need to have ways to beat Fairy types, especially Sylveon. That's a big one. Hyper Voice Sylveon is very common. Of course, I'm using it right now, and you should not expect it to die down anytime soon. It's common in the end of VGC 14 with move tutors allowed, and that makes sense. You know, Sylveon's a bulky Pokemon. You add such a powerful attack and ability, and it's going to be very good. So you probably shouldn't have a team that's full of Pokemon that are either weak or neutral damage to Fairy types. At least have a couple of ways to check Sylveon. I think Bisharp is an excellent one, which is why I have both Bisharp and Sylveon. Sylveon, of course, really good, and Bisharp to get the check against Sylveon. There are a bunch of other ways to beat it, but we're going to go into the second game, 1588 rated player from Tokyo, Japan. In team preview, my opponent's going to have pretty cool team. That is basically a VGC 15 standard team, as what I'd call it right now, of Kangaskhan, Thundurus, Heatran, Cresselia, Sylveon, and Landorus Therian. So, very solid team, full of legendaries. 4 or 6 are legendaries, and very VGC 13-esque with those legendaries with Crest, Thundurus, Heatran, and Landorus. So this is definitely a scary sight to see. But I'm thinking of leading with Salamence and Hariyama. Though that's very weak to Sylveon, which is an issue. Zapdos being able to paralyze things is good as well. I'm definitely going to go for HPS on Zapdos in the future. I think it's just a better move than Heat Wave. Of course, beating Steel types is nice, but I think HPS to hit the Landorus, Garchomp, and Salamence is significantly stronger. Unfortunately, I don't have Taunt on this team either, which is an issue. I'm going to lead... You know what? Zapdos Hariyama is actually a solid lead. I'm going to have Salamence in the back, and for my last one, I'm thinking... It's between Bisharp and Ludicolo. Ludicolo checks the Thundurus, Heatran, and Landorus pretty darn well. But Bisharp, of course, able to hit the Cresselia for super effective. You know, I'm going to go for Bisharp. Just ability to hit Cresselia and Sylveon for massive amounts of damage is tempting. Maybe this is a mistake, but I guess we'll see. And of course, if I do manage to get a Defiant boost from the Landorus, that would be very sick as well. But I'm glad to go up against the team like my opponents just because it's very VGC 15 standard. Of course, VGC 15's only been around for a couple days actually, but it's good practice, especially because these are Pokemon that are already dominating the metagame. So, Zapdos, Hariyama against Kangaskhan and Thundurus. Not the worst, but not the best lead matchup here. Presumably, he is going to fake out Hariyama and taunt the Zapdos, which would be bad news for me. So I think I'm going to T-Bolt the Hari and switch out to Salamence. Though that is predicting a bit too much. Not too much, I mean, it's a very likely play he fakes out the Hari and just taunts me. So I'm going to T-Bolt Kang, switch out into Mence. I think that's a decent play. Conserving Hariyama is pretty important in this match. Hariyama's really good against my opponent's entire team. By switching out Hariyama to Salamence, decrease Kangaskhan's attack, which is good. I can Mega Evolve the following turn, then Salamence will be the fastest Pokemon on the field. Of course, he might not actually go for the taunt or the fake out onto my Hariyama. He's actually going to switch out Thundurus, which is not what I was expecting, but okay. In comes the Sylveon. Alright. It's not a happy sight to see, as I'm going to switch out into my own Mence, which is going to at least intimidate the Kangaskhan. But it's good that I at least switched out Hariyama there. I need Hariyama for the remainder of this match. Kangaskhan's going to Mega Evolve, and now I'm kind of wishing I went for the Thunder Wave, but was really scared of the taunt coming out from the Thundurus. But very smart switch on my opponent's end. Let's see what Kangaskhan goes for. Going for the Fake Out. Who does it target? Wow, targeting Zapdos. So maybe I should have just close combated the Kang there. Nice play by my opponent there. And that's going to set me back a bit. Now, this next turn, I did get in Salamence safely, but the issue is he's got Sylveon in right now. I'm thinking of T-Waving Kang and protecting. Mega Evolving and protecting. That's what I'm going to go for. He's going to switch out Kang, though. If Thundurus comes back in, that's going to spell trouble for me. And that is Thundurus. So my opponent is playing a really perfect game right now. And frustrated that I didn't stay in with Hariyama and go for the close combat onto Kang, because that would have put me up a huge amount. And this turn is basically going to be negated as well, so things are not looking too hot for me right now. As Thunder Wave's not going to affect that Thundurus. He goes for the Hyper Voice with the Sylveon. That's going to be very painful. Wow, look at how much damage that did to Zapdos. That's most definitely Choice Spexed. And ironically, after telling you guys all to have a good counter to Sylveon, my whole team is weak to it. So there's a good lesson to learn here, guys. I'm going to Thunder Wave the Sylveon, and this is rough. This is really rough. I'm just going to go for the Draco onto Thundurus. He's going to go... Oh, T-Bolt Salamence instead of T-Bolting the... Oh, and the Paralysis. Yikes. Salamence at least gets the Draco Meteor off. Let's see how much this Draco Meteor is going to do. As Thundurus' HP falls. Wow, picks up the KO. Very nice, Mega Salamence. So if I can T-Wave the Sylveon here and get a full para, maybe things aren't going to be too bad for me. If I do get a full para, that would actually be fantastic for me. But let's see. Sylveon, will it be fully paralyzed? Oh, it gets the Hyper Voice off. Okay. But at least that's going to set up the Kangaskhan, excuse me, the Hariyama and the Bisharp I've got in the back. So obviously I'm playing down behind right now, which is rough, but getting rid of Thundurus was nice. That was a great Draco Meteor from Salamence. So I'm going to bring in Bisharp and Hariyama. Of course, Assault Vest Hariyama, so it might be able to even take an attack from the Sylveon, but it looks like Kangaskhan's coming back in for my opponent here. And this is tricky. Okay. So here he can just Power Up Punch my Bisharp, which would be really bad. Or he can fake out Hariyama and Hyper Voice. I don't think he's going to do that. I think he's going to fake out the Power Up Punch Bisharp. I'm going to protect Bisharp. Well, this is... If I can protect Bisharp and get the KO on Hariyama with close combat, that would be big. But if he predicts that and just targets my Hariyama, then I'm in doom. But he has to target the Bisharp with Fake Out or Power Up Punch, because otherwise, I can just Iron Head the Sylveon. He can't take that right now. So I think I'm going to protect Bisharp and go for the close combat into Kangaskhan, hoping to knock it out. So I'm going to get the Protect off. What does Kangaskhan do? Goes for the Fake Out. Oh, so well played by my opponent. That's going to basically make me lose the game. Very nicely done on my opponent's end there, as Hyper Voice is going to come out. I don't think I really had much options there, and that's going to knock out Hariyama, yeah. Even had I knocked out the Sylveon there, he would have been able to just close up the game anyway. So my opponent is going to take a pretty decisive win here against me. That was definitely a rough battle. Things not panning out the way I wanted it to. He's going to go for the Power Up Punch. And this team is pretty Kangaskhan weak, so I've got to improve on that for the future matches. Let's see if this is enough to knock me out. And Kangaskhan does knock out Bisharp. So Kangaskhan, one of the best checks to Bisharp. And I got trashed pretty hard that game. But if anything, I'm going to need more Sylveon counters for the future, because Sylveon just ran through my team there. I think it's really funny. So there's a good lesson to learn in both of those battles where Sylveon kind of just dominated. I'm going to fix this team up a bit, make it so that Salamence I'm going to go for the mix set in the future battle, or tomorrow's episode. But that was pretty interesting to see Mega Salamence used. Picking up the Draco Meteor KO on Thundurus was nice, but I think in future I want to support Salamence a bit better. I don't want it to just faint in one attack from super effective fairy type attacks, so I'm going to improve on this team so that I have better ways to deal with fairy type attacks, especially Hyper Voice from Sylveon. So I'm going to edit this team a bit, and I will use it tomorrow as well, because I think Salamence is a really good Mega. I don't think I did it justice in this episode, but I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you tomorrow with another episode featuring Mega Salamence. Anyway, that's it for today's video, guys, and I'll see you next time. Peace.